my friend sent me a video today that I didn't like it that much, but it was kind of like a production video of a guy reading a story to his kid or a poem. And it was like some parable of how we were living in a wasteful society and burning a lot of fossil fuels and overpopulating and mean to each other and a bunch of bullshit. And then we all had to like shelter in place and take stock and look inward. And now we live a better life and don't drive our cars as much and don't fly around as much and appreciate more of what we have. And I was thinking, production quality of this video aside, I was with you until you talked about not flying as much. And if shelter in place came to pick your home, like you can only take one more flight in your life, where would that be to?
Sure, that's a totally different perspective. Definitely. I think that it's interesting to see the government response from different places around the world, and there's a pretty clear picture painted at this point of who is handling it well and who isn't. And maybe if
remind me.
well, think about how South Korea had such a severe spike in cases very early on, and they tested pretty much more than anybody else, and they had a really elaborate system of tracking the people who were infected and who they'd come into contact with and how they isolated every case that was identified, and their case count went down so rapidly, so fast. Whereas here in the US, we don't even really have a clear picture of how many cases there are because the testing has been so limited.
Well, one of the things that makes me so hopeful is how limited the testing has been, and yet how kind of middle of the pack we compare. And it's also so heavily weighted to New York. I mean, New York just got fucking clobbered. I don't know if New York ever got overwhelmed in the hospitals the way that Italy did, but the raw numbers of New York just taken out of the equation are worse than Italy. I mean, it just got absolutely clobbered. And the city, not upstate, just because it was so dense. And New Jersey and Connecticut,
right.
The tri-state area, were up there for a while as well. But, I mean, I had a point when I started this.
Don't we say that before we do every podcast?
Yeah.
We had a point when we started this.
Definitely. But I think I've definitely had my moments to envy South Korea, the same as I somewhat envy Sweden. But you got to remember that even South Korea didn't get it right the first time, by which I mean they were only so well prepared because they got fucked hard by the SARS outbreak. Or maybe it was the swine flu. It was one of the recent outbreaks that South Korea got hit particularly hard, and then they got their shit together. And there was noise about those diseases in the United States, but it didn't end up being the hit that coronavirus has been, which is one of the reasons why even I was minimizing it at the beginning. I mean, I got a fucking crystal ball. I definitely don't break the bank on wisdom and foresight, but I had remembered how everyone was terrified of SARS and bird flu and nothing had come of it. And when I heard about coronavirus, I was just like, that sounds like those things that came to nothing in the past.
And I think that's part of what has made the response to it here so much more lackluster than a lot of other places. We haven't really gone through a recent pandemic on the same scale that some other countries have, whereas they were able to recognize what this is and how bad it could be a little more rapidly. Here we were still kind of in denial, I think. So you get caught flat-footed, and now it's sort of an uphill battle, and there are so many people that are still kind of in denial about this being a real health crisis.
I feel like there's a lot of demagoguery about Sweden right now. Like, even President Trump is kind of like, well, it's like, God, I hate how partisan and political it is, but it's like President Trump should be rooting for Sweden, but even he shit-talked it because he doesn't want to be outdone by Sweden, who didn't who did something completely different than everyone else did. I feel like he's been on both sides of this issue, which would be perfectly in character for him. But
if you play both sides, you always win.
Yeah. But the way that the partisan fall has come is that it almost seems like liberals, who are more my people, are rooting for Sweden to fail, and conservatives are rooting for Sweden to succeed. And I find myself aligning with Republicans, which is never a good day for me, that I want Sweden to succeed, partially because depending on the circumstances, I'm on the first fucking flight. I mean, they never closed down. From what I understand, their case fatality rate is in the middle of the pack for Europe. They're not doing as well as Denmark and Norway, who did lock down, and they're the most immediate neighbors, but they're actually doing well compared to Italy, well compared to Spain. Germany was doing really well, but they kind of set the standard where they were doing so well that they released some of the restrictions, and then they got hit by a second wave. I mean, I just feel like Sweden's not going to have a second wave, and that Germany's low numbers were a straw man.
Yeah. It's hard to know how that's going to translate from country to country too. It's like you said about New York here. Everybody knew from the beginning if there was a cluster outbreak in New York, that New York was going to be a problem, because it's one of the most highly dense populated areas in the country. So it's really easy for it to spread, whereas someplace like Montana, you're not going to have an issue like that. The country is populated so differently from one end to the other that based on that, it's the same from country to country. The population density seems to have such a huge role in the spread.
True, but some of the more remote states in the United States right now are actually kind of having a problem with spread. Like, there's a website called rt.live that tracks the rate of transmission by state and arranges each day's RT, like calculated RT, on a line. And there's only like 5 states that are RT in the red, which means that the spread is accelerating. Almost every state, like 45 out of 50, has a negative RT in the green, which means that it's slowing down. And of course, you're seeing a lot of states that are locked down, and that could start to change very easily once they start to release restrictions. I mean, even New York and New Jersey have a fairly low RT now that it's, now that Times Square looks like it did in the fucking Vanilla Sky intro with no one there. But I feel like people so badly misunderstand the whole idea of slowing the spread and flattening the curve. And I really hate the notion that they interpreted it as lockdown forever. I mean, that's not flatten the curve. And right when it was announced, I was like, that looks like kind of a long time for us to be locked down. I mean, maybe I just feel like I'm climbing the walls in my apartment sometimes, but
oh, you extroverts.
Oh, shut up. I remember hearing about some study, I can't quote it, but the idea was that if there wasn't really a plan to reopen by June, the American study respondents, and this is just a sample, but they try to get a representative sample size, a decent percentage of survey respondents, like 50% or more, would start to disobey. I mean, there's already a pretty broad spectrum of disobedience and a wide range of police being like, I'm not arresting people for this shit, versus your handful of petty tyrants who exist in every population of authoritative bodies, dragging people off of buses when...
we're not quite there yet.
Tackling people in parks. I mean, there have been a few isolated incidents, but I don't think that's widespread yet. But it's the kind of thing that you really, really, really don't want to become widespread.
So we kind of sidetracked ourselves into this whole coronavirus analysis with our absolutely not expert thoughts on it. But as far as the tie-in to what we do with travel and credit cards, right now, what we're seeing kind of change in the landscape of credit cards is a lot of bank issuers are making adjustments to bonus categories to kind of suit people's needs in the times that we're in, which, you know, these cards that are designed around travel and earning points for travel have become kind of useless for the moment. So we're seeing a lot of bonus category shifts into restaurants, which still code as such even when you're getting takeout, and a lot more with supermarkets, grocery stores, that kind of thing. So on the points earning side, we're seeing some adjustments there. What do you think we're going to see going forward as far as credit card and travel changes because of this?
I mean, I think that travel is going to come back. Maybe I'm just an optimist, but now I think is a perfect time to stockpile points and stockpile credit cards. I mean, I'm recommending that my friends get historically travel-centric credit cards because you can't travel right off the bat. If you've got a 3-month window to get a sign-up bonus or a 6-month window to get several sign-up bonuses, then you're going to be sitting pretty when everything opens up again. I mean, if people are really feeling the pinch economically, then yeah, they need cash back. But I hate to see people use ultimate rewards for statement credits. I hate to see people use thank you points for statement credits. We're so death on carrying a balance here, but it's a high interest balance. I mean, I would rather see if people could get interest forbearance than use the points for cash back and statement credits. But there's a problem there, which is that forbearance doesn't eliminate the balance. And if the high interest comes back and the balance is still too high for them to pay off, then they've only delayed the problem and not solved it. So I don't know. I'm glad to see you mentioned one of the cards that usually accepts only travel spending as a statement credit is now allowing other statement credits.
Right. Yeah. The City Prestige, which, you know, for your $495 a year annual fee, part of the benefits that come with that is a $250 annual travel statement credit. So basically anything that codes as travel, that $250 can automatically be applied to that. But since so few people are traveling at this point, we've seen really recently, within the last couple of days, I believe, Citi has sent out a memo and they've updated that so that people that were thinking, hey, I'm not really going to be able to make use of this travel credit this year, and it's a smart move on Citi's part to do this. They've changed it to your travel credit can also be applied to restaurants and grocery stores, which every single person that has that card is easily going to spend $250 on food. It's just, there's not even a question. So you're definitely going to get some use out of that. And I think that, you know, Citi doing this is great, but it's not per se out of the kindness of their hearts just because of the times we're in. It's because if you have a mass of people canceling a card when the annual fee comes due or trying to purge this almost $500 a year annual fee card, you want to minimize the possibility that people are going to do that. So it's a pretty easy way to get people to keep this card in their wallet.
Definitely. And it's especially of the essence for people who are unfortunate enough to have their account anniversary come up in April or in May. I mean, I don't remember what my account anniversary is, but I'm pretty sure that it's... I think I have a long way to go. Valid through March. Yeah, I just got it in March. So it's not until March of next year.
Yeah, you've got a ways to go.
Because if you don't use it within the 12-month period, then it's gone and it just resets to the next year. You still get next year's bonus, but...
Right, it's definitely a use it or lose it feature.
Yeah, but if you had travel rewards if you had a travel refund to burn and suddenly no one's traveling, then you can definitely make use of it. But since I've still got the better part of a year, I'm really banking on the notion that I can get some travel value out of it And so I'm still just using my Amex Gold for 4 points a dollar on groceries because the Prestige doesn't do 4 points. It does do, well, now that I think of it, I am doing restaurant purchases on the Prestige, so I could be burning into that anyways.
Right.
I haven't really checked. I mean, for all the complication that goes into building these ecosystems for ourselves, we both talked about how it's nice when you can just set it and forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are days when I think, the 2-card system doesn't sound so bad. It's a little more manageable. But so speaking of fee credits, the one that I feel like is going to be really difficult to make use of this year, at least with how things are right now, and those are the Amex airline fee credits.
I've always had a problem with those. I've never had an easy time using those because I can't think of reasons to spend money at an airline ever when you can redeem points for a lot of things.
It's really, when there were still a couple of airlines left where you could get gift cards credited and use your fee credit that way. So you were kind of indirectly using the fee credit for airfare. They were still pretty useful at that point. Even if you didn't have an immediate use in mind, you could just, whatever your airline was set to, you could pick it, buy those gift cards, and then use them for paid airfare later. But once the gift card loophole closed, and now that it really is only an airline fee credit where you can maybe use it for lounge day passes or baggage fees or things like that, it's so much more difficult for the average person to use. It's hard to even call those a selling point of the card.
Yeah.
I don't think I've even used mine on my Amex Gold, the $100 one.
I think I burned some of my gold credit purchasing in-flight Wi-Fi on my Japan flights.
Oh, big money.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think I had to buy several of them. I got like 1 free hour from business class, and then I bought, in 2 different ways, I bought like the full flight passes, or it might have just been that you could only buy it by the hour. And ANA's in-flight Wi-Fi is kind of garbage. It was hard to like really do a lot with it. It was pretty slow. I mean, I don't know if any airline has a super fast Wi-Fi, and they had an explanation. It was like, just so you remember, you're surfing the web in the air. That's pretty cool, but managing the internet relay at this altitude and this velocity is actually kind of tough. So bear with us. It's not gonna be like your fucking T1, like your fucking high-speed line at home.
Yeah, it's really funny how much you have to manage people's expectations with stuff like that. The fact that you're in a tin can 30,000 feet in the air traveling from one place to another at 500-600 miles an hour, that isn't amazing enough. It's like, I can't live stream this on Facebook. Like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. So and to bring it back to city for a second, I mean, we talked a little bit earlier when you got here about the changes that are coming to the City Premier card. I don't even have the City Premier card. I probably won't get it for another 2 years because it'll be 2 years before I'm eligible for another big sign-up bonus of thank you points.
Right.
You can only get one or the other, or even the City Rewards Plus. You can only get one of those bonuses every 2 years.
Yeah,
so
any thank you point earning card, they really make you stay in it for the long haul now.
And I got the double cash, which is awesome that they now transfer their cash back to thank you points because there was no sign up bonus, and now I'm using it to spend on just about everything. But I might get the rewards plus as well because I'm not going to wait 4 years for 10,000 points. That's just stupid. And they got a 10,000 point sign up bonus, but if I'm waiting 2 years for another sign up bonus, I'm going to make it be 60,000 or 50,000 or whatever the Premier is running. And in the meantime, I don't think they got rid of entertainment. Let me see if I can confirm that really quick. But I remember in one of our old videos, I said that Amex made those changes to the gold card that might as well have renamed the card Fuck You Chase, and then Citi made the changes to the Prestige card that might as well have been named Fuck You Amex. Like the Premier upgrade really might as well have been named Fuck You Chase and Amex. And I honestly expect Chase to up their game, especially since the Sapphire Reserve upped their fee, and I think there's some things about it that I don't like better anymore, but I'm not sad that I don't have it anymore.